Hi everyone. Okay. I just want to make sure that we find our students and bring them back. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Hi everyone. Can you see me, hear me, all of those things? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So hi everyone. Thank you for visiting us today, even if it's virtually. My name is Shruti. In case you don't know, I am the Director of Teaching and Learning here at Avasara. And as Ashia mentioned, I also teach global perspectives here at Avasara. Okay, can I share my screen? Will I be allowed to do that?
Yes, you can go ahead. Yeah.
Just give me 1 second. Can I ask everyone to, I don't know if you've already done this, Ashia, so let me know. But like, can everyone just like put in like their name and like why they're here in the chat, just so that I get a sense of like who I'm talking to? That would be helpful. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. Hi everyone. I'm just gonna tell you a little bit about Avasara. As I requested up front, if you could just like put your name in the chat, go ahead and tell us like why you're interested in Avasara. If you have questions, go ahead and put that in the chat as well, and I'll answer them as I keep going. But yes, hi everyone. This mostly you'll be listening to me. The presentation is not going to have that much information on it. So if you want to take notes, go ahead and take notes. If you want to just listen, also fine. But just know that the presentation is meant mostly to just like give us visual aids to know where we are. But most of the information you hear will be coming from me. Yeah. Okay. So over the next 20-ish minutes, I want to give you a sense of what our model is. And then I want to talk you a little bit through how we approach kind of the 3 big blocks of our school design. So our leadership, our academics and curriculum, and our enrichment and extracurricular activities. And then I'll talk a little bit about like the mindset I think that like we hope all of our educators on campus have, and then I'll take questions if we have them. And then as you know, you'll be also joined by teachers at Apsara and students at Apsara who will be better able to answer many of your questions as well. Apsara was started 9 years ago, and the mission from the very beginning was to empower girls of promise to lead lives of distinction, sorry for the typo, and impact. And so the goal is really to bring students from all across the country to this space to train them in what it means to live well, what it means to learn well, what it means to like live a life of distinction and impact. And so it is a girls' school. Our school is about this year 380 students, and we have students from 6th grade through 12th grade. It's a socioeconomically diverse batch of students. About 95% of our students do come from low-income communities, but it is a wide range within that 380. And our students come from all over India. We have students from Pune, we have students from Mumbai, we have students from Delhi, we have students from Ahmedabad and Hyderabad. And I think this year we have even more students from even more spaces. So yeah, so that's our students, the diverse space. Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the 3 major components of our program at Avasara. Thank you, Ranjana, for the question. We are based in Pune. And so the first is leadership, the second is academics, and the third is extracurricular and enrichment programming. So the first is leadership. So all of our students, 6th grade through 13th, do take a leadership, entrepreneurship, and India studies class. And that's a required part of our curriculum. And the purpose of that class is to introduce students to like what it means to be change makers in wherever they choose to occupy post-graduation. That could be the state, that could be the market, that could be civil society. And the goal is to give them the information they need. So that means reading the Constitution. That means understanding profit and loss. That means understanding public speaking skills, collaboration skills, all of that. So the knowledge and the skills they need, as well as the dispositions. They explore their identity, they explore who they are, they explore their strengths, they explore their weaknesses. And the goal is kind of, as they leave, they have kind of all of the tools they need to create change in the world around them. And so it is a pretty interdisciplinary curriculum. It's a curriculum that we design ourselves, and we hope that like from 6th grade through 12th grade, 13th grade, like all of our students just get a very wide range of exposure. It's also a pretty project-based curriculum. So every year our students do some form of project work that enables them to practice what it means to change, to make change. And so that could be in their community, that could be at our school, that could be through social media, that could be creating its own business, their own business. And so every year they kind of get a different opportunity to explore what it means in a hands-on way, while also learning about the other spaces, so that they can really be leaders in the way that they choose to be. If anyone has any questions on leadership, like go ahead and put them in the chat. I'll do my best to answer them. But in the meanwhile, I'm gonna move to the next thing. So the second kind of core component of our design is academics. And so our academic program is very, very rigorous, but I think it's basically based on three major principles. One, that every single student that comes into our school wants to learn and wants to do their absolute best, but like, I don't know, there might be things stopping them, prerequisite knowledge, whatever. And so our goal as teachers is to make sure that we engage every single student in front of us. That's one. The second is that rigor is engagement and engagement is rigor. So that means like we try to make sure that like what's fun about the classroom is really in-depth engagement with the subject. And so like sometimes you'll see games, sometimes you'll see projects, but there'll be games and projects that really push for like high levels of critical thinking and high levels of engagement with the content in front of them. And so like the funnest part of our science classroom is the labs. The funnest part of the global perspectives classroom is the research report. The most fun part of the history classroom is reading the history textbook. I think we really believe that like learning can be fun, and we should like make sure that we consistently message that to students. It is a Cambridge curriculum school. I just saw that question in the chat. So I'm just putting that out there. And I think the last thing is that like, so I said rigor is engagement and engagement is rigor. I said that everyone can and wants to learn. And then I think the third thing that I'd say is that like collaboration is a really core part of the space. Like we have students talk to each other, we have students talk to us. We have a pretty continuous inquiry loop of asking students what could be better about our classrooms, taking that feedback and improving upon that. The goal is like teachers and students partnering together in service of learning. So I think that would be kind of the third thing. Ashia, Amina, can I pause and take questions, or would you rather I just go straight through?
We can take some questions right now, but we also have a space for questions later. So we can take a few that are on the chat and then
Cool. So someone asked if the curriculum is open source. It's not right now, but we're working on figuring out ways to communicate our leadership curriculum more widely. So like stay tuned and we'll get back to you. Do we invite experts for leadership sessions? We do, but I don't know, it probably looks different from what that question intended. So that's a better question for students. And so I'll make sure that someone asks that to students later as well, in terms of who they get to meet outside of Apsara that helps them learn leadership. That would be a great question for students. And in terms of what kinds of projects, like I mentioned, kids do pretty hands-on things. So several years ago, for example, the 6th graders were asked to make the school better in some way. And they were asked to like identify issues that they experienced at school and create a project to work on that. And so some groups thought that like community building wasn't happening enough. So they designed a set of games for students to play across campus so that students got to know each other better and like community building was happening. Other students thought that like maybe students will use the cubbies on campus more effectively if the cubbies were like each person had their own cubby and that cubby could be closed. Right now our cubbies are open, and so students created their own like cubby doors for each student, and they like created a prototype of that. So like there's a range. Sometimes it's community building, sometimes it's this engineering type of project, but like they're given a theme every year. So in 6th grade that year, they were supposed to improve the school community. In 9th grade every year, they run a business. And so they kind of create their own business model and pitch it and run it through the year. And so some students take tuitions, some students make diaries and sell them on campus. Some students make pani puri and sell it on campus. Again, there's a range of the kinds of projects that kids take on, but like they're always like centered kind of around a common anchor. And then the last question I'll take before moving on is why we chose Cambridge. I think we really valued critical thinking and reflection and real world application. And like Cambridge like values those things as well. And so that's why we picked it. It's an imperfect choice, and like I'm happy to talk about it with people who want to know more. Like I think every single board has a pros and cons, but I think Cambridge for us, like the best thing about it is that it's challenging. It involves tons of real world application. Kids read real newspaper articles and have to analyze the economic concepts in it. Kids write real research reports. One of my students is writing on the impact of musical theater on low-income students in India. And like I think it's great that students have the like flexibility and freedom to be able to explore those questions on their own. And so I think Cambridge really values that. And so that's why Cambridge. Okay, I'm gonna move on to extracurriculars. And so we do have a pretty robust extracurricular and enrichment program as well. So our day students on campus experience enrichment every day for about an hour a day, and our hostel students experience it for an hour a day during the day, and then as well in hostel and on weekends. Again, like the goal is kind of simultaneously diversity and range and depth. So we want to expose kids in early years to as many things as possible, whether it's programming or drama or dance or participatory action research or writing a newspaper. We have a very wide range of options for students. And then in 6th through 8th grade, we really prioritize diversity. And then as students get older, we also prioritize depth. And we want to make sure that students are kind of choosing a few things and really gaining expertise in it. That's the way our extracurricular and enrichment program is designed. We also kind of have weekend one-time workshops for our hostel students so that they can kind of just do something for one weekend for fun or for a series of weekends to get themselves moving, whether it's physical fitness or one of those goals. So that's a little bit about our extracurricular program. And I think the last thing I'm going to say before I open us up for a second round of questions is like the mindset that I think we try to have here as adults on campus. And I think that would be, so a couple of things. One, I think we really do see ourselves as like in partnership with students. And so in every single space, from the leadership space to the enrichment space to the academic space, we consistently ask students what's working and what's not. And we work with students to figure out what we can do better to like make sure that their learning experience is as positive as humanly possible. And hopefully you'll hear that from students a little later as well. So that's one. I think the second thing is just like a commitment to reflection and excellence. Like I think, so a quote that I have in my room this year, in my office this year is, I'm going to paraphrase it badly, but the quote is that I'm better today than I was yesterday, but hopefully not as good as I'll be tomorrow. And we really hope that our educators kind of inculcate that in their own practice, that they are better today than they are than they were yesterday. But there's also so much more to learn, and there's so much more to explore and improve upon in their own classroom practice. And we really try to model that as educators so that eventually we can pass that on to the students. So yeah, that's what I would say. That was about 12 minutes of hearing me talk. Again, any questions about anything I shared about or about anything else? Some questions will be better for teachers and students, but happy to answer any school design related questions if I can. Yeah, Isha.
Hello, I hope I'm audible.
Yep.
Okay. I just thought typing would take a long time, so just raised my hand. I hope that's okay. So I just wanted to ask that I think the students were explaining to us the different subject buildings, and then of course we faced a technical issue, so they didn't get a chance to finish. But how do you inculcate interdisciplinary learning when subjects are in separate buildings? Or if you could just elaborate on the idea as well as to why there are different buildings for different subjects. So in terms of design aspects, and then of course how that translates into curriculum.
Yeah, so the biggest reason is just that different subjects, in our experience, at least on this campus with this curriculum with these students, our experience has been that like just logistically different subjects need different resources. And so English pedagogy at Apsara is pretty dependent on having immediate access to like a wide range of books. Our students do like choice-based independent reading almost every single day, which means that they need to be able to finish a book, put it back, grab a new book, and just jump back into reading, which means that the English classroom has to be in the library. And so every single one of our English classrooms has hundreds of books in the classroom. For example, our science classroom, our pedagogy is pretty dependent on experiments and investigations. And so they need a full lab setup. And so like that's why they're in different spaces, is so that we have the space to like make sure that science has the full lab setup that it needs, while English can have the full library setup that it needs, versus history can have its nonfiction library setup the way that it needs. And that can all just happen. And for all of that to happen in a single classroom for a 7th grader is challenging. So that's one of the reasons. And the second reason is to incorporate movement into our students' school days. So like after science, they go for a walk to the English building. After English, they go for a walk, and it creates space for them to like reset and to have 5 minutes of chatting time with their friends, and to just like bring movement into their days, and like in addition to the formal physical fitness stuff that we do. So like those are, I think, the two big design principles for why we made the decision that we did. And so then you're right, that creates a challenge for interdisciplinary learning. What we do at Avasara, which I think we're still learning how to do the way we want it, but the way we do it is we have grade level teams. So each of our grade levels has a team of teachers that is a combination of someone from each department. So a math teacher, a science teacher, an English teacher will all kind of come together as part of the grade 6 team or the grade 8 team. And that's kind of the space where like cross-disciplinary support for a student and interdisciplinary support for curriculum happens. As you can imagine, it was hard to do that effectively during the pandemic. And so we're like kind of rebuilding those structures to make sure that they are able to do the full range of interdisciplinary work that we want them to. But yeah, so we have those kind of separate structures to get people to come out of their buildings and get together and talk about what students need. And it could be interdisciplinary work, but it could also just be something as simple as like, hey, I noticed this student was absent for the last couple of days. I know she likes science, she doesn't like English, which is my subject. Hey, science teacher, if you could kind of check in with her and figure out what's going on. Like even just creating space for that, we have these grade level teams. But hopefully in the long term also to have more structured interdisciplinary work.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah. Hari has a question. Hari, you're muted.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Yeah, thanks, Shruti, for that presentation. I have 3 different questions. I'll try to keep it brief. The first one is about, what the Dalai Lama calls education of the heart, essentially learning to live together harmoniously. How do you sort of incorporate that into Apsara? Is it part of the curriculum? Is it part of the way they live and grow up together?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our students are all in advisories. So that's groups of like 10 to 12 students that like are in a similar developmental stage as them. So 6th and 7th are in advisories together. 6th, 7th, and 8th are in advisories together. 9th and 10th are in advisories together. 11th and 12th are in advisories together. And their advisor will be a teacher or a counselor or a residential advisor who kind of meets with them 3 times a week and helps them talk through some of these issues, some of these education of a heart issues. Really, like we talk to them through relationship building. We do a lot of team building in that space. We talk to them about, like, one of my favorite advisories to do every year is I have them role play teachers and have them practice asking teachers for help, which is like a really important skill, but it's sometimes really hard for students, particularly girls, to do. And so a lot of those activities happen in advisory. We also use the social, emotional, and ethical learning framework that's available online, and like have gone through a multi-year process of training teachers to be able to use that effectively, and our counselors as well are trained to use that effectively. So that's kind of the second big building block of the space. So advisory is kind of structural, and the C-learning framework is a little bit more curricular. But I will say a lot of it is also like in the way we teach leadership and the way we approach our curriculum. I'll use my own example because I teach a global perspectives class, and the requirement from the board is that all of our students write a research report. And like global perspectives as a Cambridge subject doesn't require that students pick things that they're passionate about, that are meaningful to them, that can make the world better. But like I do require that of our students. And so that means that our students pick up everything from good performing arts help low-income students in India with their confidence and their self-esteem, to a question like, what is the impact that the female characters of the Ramayana and Mahabharata still have on today's generation? And like, I really try to push them to pick topics that they care about, but also that like they have a voice to add to. And so like, I think, and like in general, like that's also how we approach our leadership curriculum. That's how we approach many of the ways that we engage with students. And like, I think like helping girls use their voice and helping our educators and adults learn to listen to their voice is a really big part of what it means to educate with heart. So advisory, C-learning curriculum, and then also kind of leadership embedded into everything we do.
I believe you've already sort of answered my second question, which was you talked about reflection and commitment to excellence on the part of the teachers. I guess you already talked about inculcating that to the students. Is that an active part of the way you approach education?
Yeah, so we have 7 values. I said reflection and excellence, but there are 5 more. And we kind of cycle through them very consistently in many different spaces. So we deal with them explicitly in assembly. Joseph, our head of school, often will do like a picture book read aloud that exemplifies empathy, and then we'll have the students in assembly kind of reflect on empathy in the storybook that he read aloud, or reflection, or integrity, or any one of our values. So that's something that kind of happens whole school. We then follow up with it in grade level team meetings and advisory. But then we also kind of build it into our classes, right? So I don't know, every time that I have research independent time during my class, I remind kids to practice integrity because they're on laptops and they have access to the internet. Every time one of the 6th grade science teachers like begins the trimester, she does like a blindfolding activity where she has them blindfold themselves and then check in with each other about science, as just a reminder that, you know, sometimes when students join school, they immediately gravitate to whoever they want to be friends with, and then they don't like look outside of that group at all. And so she blindfolds them and mixes them around the room and forces them to talk to students who they haven't talked to yet, to just get the entire classroom to build a culture and a community. And one of our values is interdependence. And so she reinforces that through that activity. Or like in one of our 6th grade history classrooms, what is written on the board is that you have the right to understand every single word on the page. And it's my responsibility to make sure that you understand every single word on the page. And like, I think that again, kind of subliminally reinforces the reflection and the excellence and the asking for help. So we do it formally through assembly, advisory, and GLS, but we also kind of try to embed it into our lesson plans every chance we get, so that it's not just like a word we're kind of forcing down students' throats, but we are really modeling it as adults in the space, and we're really showing that we value these things. And and want students to value them as well.
A final quick question. I think I'm taking a lot of time. Could you speak a little bit about the design process that you went through for the curriculum, for the values, and how that is an ongoing process? If you could speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm not the best person to speak about the initial design process because I joined Apsara after it had already kind of been running for a couple of years. But I can speak about what it means to kind of work through it now and to work through it on an ongoing basis. I think our curriculum development, I think, is the most ongoing piece of it, I guess. Like, I think every year we learn more about what our students are able to do and how much we can push in in each of our subjects, in each of our grades. Every year we learn more about how we can be better aligned 6th grade through 12th grade to make sure that like the curriculum builds on itself and ways that we can be more interdisciplinary across spaces. And like, I think my favorite part about working at Avasara is that like teachers do have a ton of voice in creating the curriculum that we build. Like it's not like I create a curriculum and everyone runs it. Everyone really does work together to create the curriculum that we execute with students, and Cambridge exists as a backbone, but it's, I think, far from rigid. And I think Alina and Ria, the teachers, would be much better people to ask more about that. But like, it is definitely a co-created iterative curriculum design process, and we all really like work together to make it happen. Okay, so I think students are back. And so Ashia, can I switch back to them? And if anyone has any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll come back to them.
Yes, definitely. Well, there are quite a few questions, and I'm sure they'll keep coming in, Shruti, as you keep talking about the school as well. Of Apsara. And who better to talk about?
Can I start? Can I start? Just a second. Yes. Pooja, you can go ahead. Sorry, we lost Arshia there, but we can resume with the two. So we can just do that. Go ahead.
So this is in class going on in of history, and they are studying history. So this is Mittal. In Mittal, we study about English and history. So it's and there is library as well over here in each classroom to read. Okay. So as you can see, there is ground in front of us, and it's we have P over there. P is for physical education, and under the ground we have water recycling. We store a lot of water and recycle them to reuse them, and there are a lot of plants at Avasara. And so we are going to Nishar. So there we have LEI. So LEI is for leadership, entrepreneurship, and Indian studies. So we learn leadership for to become a leader, and entrepreneurship to start a business, and Indian studies to have some to learn about different kind of governments, and there is admin office over there as well. So this is TCS. This is for maths and business studies, and psychology also happens here.
Till we get down further, Harshita, maybe you can log in and you can start.
Yes. Hello, sorry, we were not able to show you our sculpture earlier, but right now I'm sitting in a classroom here. First, I'll be talking about the hostel, because I've been living in hostel for the past 5 years, I am from Hyderabad, and we have students coming from Hyderabad, Mumbai, Ahmedabad, different places. Now we have a lot of people from Delhi too. So I'll like to start with hostel. So we have a lot of facilities in hostel. We have 4 residential advisors. We have 2 buildings running in place right now. Each floor has a residential advisor, and residential advisors take care of the study schedule and all. And after hostel, we have enrichment. In school also, we have enrichment after school. Our school gets over at 2:30, and from 2:30 to 3:30, we have advisory or GLS or assembly. Advisory, it's a group of 12 people, including the advisors, 2 advisor or 1 advisor. It is a space where we as a team bond together and discuss about various issues. Or from 6 to 8, we have structured advisories where we talk about different values. As Ms. Shruti mentioned about fortitude or reflection or anything, we have structured advisories. But as we step into like 10th to 13th grade band, we have more unstructured advisories where we have time for team building and all. And then we have GLS too on one day of the week where we as a grade meet together. So right now I'm a science student, but the other section is a commerce batch. So we don't have a lot of spaces where we can meet as a grade band. So we have grade level seminar where we discuss our issues. And then also we do some team building activities. And we have assembly on one day. One particular thing that I'd like to talk about assembly is the community service. We have a huge housekeeping staff, a team of housekeeping staff, and community services are where we can help the housekeeping staff. So each advisory gets a community service like plate washing or newspaper cutting or lunch serving, so that we can give back to the housekeeping staff. Now coming to enrichment, we have it after the advisory or GLS or assembly. It is for 1 hour. Enrichment program is where we choose an activity that we are interested in. So we have activities ranging from sports to cooking to dancing. We have all kinds of activities here. Some are led by students. So whatever students are interested in, or do they know, like they have that skill, they teach it to the other students. So we have students teaching crocheting, knitting, dancing, macrame. We also have students participating in environmental clubs. So that is there. And we also have a newspaper team. That is also an enrichment activity. Now, coming to other fun things about Apsara is like we have annual days, we have diversity days, we have sports days. So diversity day is where we represent different states and we celebrate them. It is basically to get awareness about different places in India. Yes. Miss Annie is showing overall. This is where we study languages, which are Hindi and Marathi. And we also have our lunch, snacks here, because this is the canteen building. There's a class going on. Also to mention, our timetable is in a way that we have a day system. So whenever we have a holiday, we don't miss classes. So we have day 1, day 2, day 3 system, so that we don't miss on any classes. And one thing to mention about the doors and the furniture in our school, these are all donated by donors. Yes. And our school is not painted anywhere, only the ceilings are painted. This is because we don't want to waste money on painting the walls. We rather like it eco-friendly. We have bamboos outside our buildings. and only the ceilings are painted because as we go from Oberoi to Honeywell, we go uphill, and the only thing that we see is the ceiling.
So Harshita, there's a question around what is the day system, and they want to understand that better.
Oh, okay. So day system is nothing but like the timetable. In regular schools, we have timetable like this day you have, suppose I'm a science student, so I have chemistry, biology, and physics. So chemistry, biology, and physics. So it is divided into days. So suppose if there's a holiday on this Thursday, I'll miss the classes that are on Thursday. So to not miss any classes, we have a day system where we go according to the days rather than the days. Like Thursday, Wednesday, we don't go according to that. We go on like day 1, day 2, day 3. I'm not sure if you've understood that.
No, I think that was helpful, I'm sure. Maybe Pranita can let us know. Yes, she understood. So one question from Isha is also, how do you prepare your students for, or maybe it's for you, Harshita, how do you like prepare to interact with the other gender, considering that Apsara is a girls only school?
So we have many opportunities that our school provides. So we have internships. So we do go outside schools to participate in internships or any sport competitions. So we do have that too. It's not like we are only interacting with girls, but we do have opportunities where we interact with the other gender too.
I'm sure.
Outside.
So Anindita was just showing that hall, the big hall, where I think you do the club activities as well. That video has gone back, but Anindita, if you could bring that back.
Sorry, what were you talking about?
The club hall, the activity hall, the massive space.
So in each building, the ground floor is a veranda. So we have huge verandas in each building. We have that veranda. So when I was showing TCS, I was showing that assemblies used to happen there because we were a small batch of people there. But now it got shifted to Oberoi because the student number also has increased. So we have gatherings there, school gatherings in those spaces.
What are those? Can you tell us more as we see them?
Sorry?
What are those? Can you tell us more about the galleries as we're looking at them?
Galleries?
What you just said, Harshita?
The verandas. I can show you one right now. I was talking about how in each building we have a veranda where we use it for different activities. So this is Honeywell. Honeywell also has a huge veranda. When I was talking to you, I was showing the building TCS. We used to have our assemblies there before, but now it got shifted to Oberoi. So we do our school gatherings there, like assembly. If that has answered your question.
What's your favorite place, space in the school, Harshita? What's your favorite space in the school?
So this is Honeywell. So this is where I stay the whole day because my all classes happen here, physics, chemistry, and biology. So I can say that this is my favorite building out of all.
And what is the space that Anindita is showing us?
That was Oberoi.
Okay.
Sorry, right now we're at Godrej, and this is basically an independent study area. So the students are free to come here and study. So we have a lot of open spaces where they can come and they can study wherever it's comfortable for them, whether that's more of a group work or an individual work. I want to hand it back to Pooja. She'll just talk a bit about recycling, and she also wants to speak about solar panels.
So in every building we have dustbins and we have different dustbins for everything, and we recycle them. Like if there is food, so we recycle them and keep them for plants and for fertilizer made by that. So there are some plants over here. So we make the fertilizer and put it in the plant so they grow more. And there are on each building we have solar panels. So in each building we have, on the top of each building we have solar panels. So they generate some electricity for the school.
Thank you, Pooja. Harshita, would you like to add anything?
There's a question, what value do you enjoy the most at Apsara? So I personally believe that reflection has been a core value of mine. Apsara has reminded me to do reflection in all ways. So I've used reflection for self-improvement and self-love. So I enjoy reflection the most.
Harshita, would you like to add anything on sustainability and the solar panels and all the efforts from the school?
So on every building, as Pooja mentioned, we have solar panels, so they go back to the grid. So, and about the water cycling system, we have reed beds in all over our camp, not like behind Godrej 1 and behind Oberoi 1, where we recycle our water, and that water is used for our garden and also in the toilets for the flushing.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, Anandita, where are you headed right now?
One more thing I'd like to add is that
Okay.
all our food waste from the canteen go to the compost pit, and we use that manure for our garden again.
Okay.
Thank you.
While I think Anandita just turns on the video again, Harshita, would you like to take this question? So there are bags left outside of the classrooms. Is there a specific reason for it?
Sorry?
The bags are left outside of the classroom. Is there a specific reason?
Yes, we leave our bags outside. I'll show you the cubbies. We do have a cubby system. Just give me a second. So these are our cubbies. We have it. I'll just go back in so that there's no noise. We have these cubbies outside every classroom. So this is where we put our bags or whatever stuff. The reason why we don't carry our bags inside is because sometimes, especially for science classrooms, because we deal with a lot of glassware in our labs and all. So we don't want to break any of them. And also it is just easier for the teachers to walk through the class without the bags.
Great, thank you so much for that. Yeah, Anandita, please go ahead.
All right. So we can start the Q&A portion. So we have two teachers, Alina and Ria, who joined us, and she's alongside several students as well. And I will also shortly log back in, and I will also have be sitting with some students. So depending on what the question is and who you would like to answer, if you'd like it to be a high school student, a newer student, you can let us know and we will get the Q&A started. So I'll ask Alina or Ria if you can start putting your videos on, and I will just go back because it's starting to, we are starting advisory, so you can see there are students starting to come all over here.
That's great. I think some of the questions have already been answered on the chat. Thank you so much for that, Rupa and Shruti. We can take more questions. Hi, Alina. Hi. So good to see you all. Thank you so much for joining. We're quickly taking questions now. The first one is from Ashton. What is the percentage of students dropping out, if any particular reason for dropping off?
Can you give me 2 minutes? I can't.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You can just keep getting questions on chat. And over to you, Alina, and everyone who's joined. You can keep taking questions.
Yes, can you repeat your question?
Yeah, well, I think we have a question from Ashton.
The questions are also on the chat, so you can
Yeah.
read them as well. It says, okay, so Ashton asked if Okay, I cannot see it anymore. Yeah. If there's a percentage of students dropping out, if any, what are the major reasons?
For students to drop out? I think Anandita would be a better person to answer that question. I think as teachers, we are more focused. I can tell you about the pedagogy that is followed here. I can tell you what we do in our classrooms. I feel like that is more of a management level question, which I probably should not do.
No worries. Yeah.
Sure. So there are
okay.
some other questions also. So one question I think Isha has asked, this is for the students. How do the seniors interact with the juniors? Is there a structure program?
Okay, so would you like any one of the students to answer this?
Yes.
Have a mix of grade 13 students to grade 11 students right in front of you.
Yes. Yes.
So what do you guys? Yeah. Zenuka, you can go ahead.
We don't really have a structure to how seniors and we don't really have a structure to how seniors and juniors interact. We do get free times like lunch break or short break where we can interact with juniors or they can interact with us. Additionally, we have advisory, which is mixed. So we have students from either each grade or we have like grade band. For example, 6 to 8 is one grade band and 9 to 10 is another, and then 11 to 13 is another grade band. So we interact in advisories or enrichments, which are extracurricular activities that you want to add?
I think we also interact a lot in hostels, like when we all live on the same floor, so that we interact over there, and then if there's some problem, then we discuss it together. So I think that's also a major part where we interact with the juniors and the students. Yeah. Adding to that, I think Apsara really believes in sisterhood, and that is one of the very core values that is trickled down from grade 7 or grade 6 till grade 13. And in that, I think we believe in mentorship. So, a lot of grade 13 sisters, their sisters are supposed to take care of their juniors, but it's not like really formal, but in a lot of intangible ways that's promoted and expected out of these things.
Thank you so much. I love that idea of sisterhood and mentorship. There was one question before this. Does Apsara offer inclusive education? How do you include differentiation, diversity in the curriculum? Anything from the students and from you? Just about diversity and how that's propagated through the curriculum.
Yeah, so I think in our pedagogical styles, I think we are encouraged to practice like individualized learning plans as much as we can. And the class sizes are typically smaller at Apsara, which helps us to focus on individual students. But I mean, I don't think so we are able to do differentiation to, the best possible way. And I think we all as teacher communities strive to do better every year. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, Amina, can I have a student answer the question on what made them? I think Sandeep had a question of what it was like from the previous school.
Yeah, absolutely. Whoever wants to go ahead.
Nishka?
Okay, so in Avasara, we have teachers that care a lot about how you're doing, how you're feeling, which is really important, I think. And it concentrates a lot on subjects like LEI, leadership, which can be used to help empower girls. It also talks about global issues that we're facing in this time and how we can solve those problems. And it's a really nice.
Got it.
So from my previous school, I noticed that there are different types of subjects like LEI that I doesn't know about in previous school. But here we learn about leadership, sisterhood, and etc.
Thank you for that, friends. That was so wonderful. Like just that different. And please feel free to ask follow-up questions, people on the chat as well. Krishna, could you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, sure. Hi. So I just wanted to ask the students what a day in their life looks like, because they're also staying there. So Monday to Sunday, what are your class schedules like? And then post school, what time does school actually end? And then other activities start and your social life look like?
Our day in a life. So from Monday to Friday, we have classes. We have classes from 8:10 to 2:30. In between, we have a lunch break and a small short break. Then we from 3:30, from 2:30 to 5, we have advisory assembly or GLS. And from Monday to Thursday, we have extracurricular activities from 3:05 to 4:10. For hostelers, after 4:10, the day scholars disperse for hostelers. Then we have 4:30, we have snacks break. And then from 5 to 6, again, we have extracurriculars. From 6 to 8, we have our study time. And for higher grades, after 8 o'clock, we have dinner. And after dinner, also, we get our study time. And then it's around like 10:30, we wrap up and then we go to sleep. For weekends, the breakfast is a little late at 9 o'clock. And then we eat our breakfast. Then we have study time from 1 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And in middle, we have lunch and snack break. On Saturdays, especially, we have workshops from 10:30 to 12:30. So then we attend workshops. And on Sunday, we have a free time from 10:30 to 12:30.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Harshit, you had a question.
Yeah, hello. Hi. It was really wonderful to know about the system that is there at Avasara. And I was just curious to know that while you were showing different buildings for different disciplines, if you could also share something more about the entrepreneurship program over there and the projects that you do it, and being routed through those entrepreneurship projects, how we get the curriculum of Cambridge ACE and A levels being completed through that. It would be great if you could share that.
Could you clarify that, Harshit? Just say one more time. I don't think we heard the question.
Sure. So what I'm eager to know about is entrepreneurship program that you have it, and while you're doing different buildings, one of them was for entrepreneurship, psychology, and all those being housed over there. What are different projects that you do it in your entrepreneurship? And since it's an ACE and A level school, so do you have business management as a subject being taken in A levels? And through those projects, how do you get the syllabus content being covered up through that, and yet you being able to manage with the time in the span of 2 years?
Great question. Thank you. Alina, Anindita, like in your screens, did you hear that question? The question is around, so he saw entrepreneurship blocks. And so the question is, what kind of projects do you do that are entrepreneurial, and do you have business management? I have been actually a part of a business studies classroom at Apsara, and it was so great because the students were all grilling Joseph around exactly how does he fundraise. So it was fascinating to watch. I would love to hear from you guys.
Okay. Hi, this is a great question. Okay, so I would like to answer you with this question. So we have LEI classes and I have business studies right now. And we do like a lot of projects. So I have been here from 6th grade and right now I'm pursuing my AS levels. So from that period, I have been doing several projects. So one of my projects I did was a design for change project where we were recycling papers in our school. That was my first project that I started with in my 7th grade. And then recently I did the WildLAC Oxfam India project where my and other projects were selected we made it to the top 6, and one of our projects called Project Buddhi made it to the top 3, and they also got fundings of 50K. Yeah, and my project Preksha, it was all about, educating women about menstruation, menstrual hygiene and puberty, and then providing them with sustainable and affordable period products such as cloth pads. Yeah, that was what we did recently in LEI. And yeah, in business studies, we had a business mela in our school on a parent teachers to a student meeting where where students from 10th, 11th, 12th, people who are pursuing business studies right now in their AS and A levels, we made products and we sold them to our teachers, to our parents, and to other members of our school. Yeah, and that was quite interesting.
And how long it's quite interesting to know about this. And how long do these projects do continue? Like, do you have it at every intervals, or do you have a very long, like a project being stretched over a period of couple of months? Yeah, I'll just repeat. What I was trying to say is that how long, what is the duration, typically, what is the duration of these projects that you undertake?
Yeah. Okay. So about the project that that we did, like in 11th grade, it was like for about 2 months, and it was an ongoing process. Like, we had to submit to Oxfam, to WILAC and Oxfam India. And right now also we are continuing that project. So it depends. The duration depends. Like, how long do you want to take it? Like, do you want to take it in the long term or the short term? So many of my projects were long term. Like, the Design for Change project and Project Preksha is a long term thing. But then this business mela and things are very short term. Like, it is a project that we do in a very short period of time.
That's great. Thanks for sharing.
Others who have a question, if it's not been answered in the chat, you can unmute yourself and ask.
Yes, hi, am I audible?
Yes, Isha, please go ahead.
Hi girls, it's lovely to see all of you. I'm so sorry I couldn't turn my camera on right now. But what's the food like? We've had a lot of serious questions, but what's your favorite meal on campus that you have? And again, if there are any teachers listening to this, is there any thought put behind the meals that are provided to the girls? So yeah, that's really my question. Very simple.
So my favorite meal of the campus is idli sambar. In idli there are so many varieties. Like in idli there are carrots and etc. There are different types of carrots, vegetables in it. I like the meal of pav bhaji. There are cucumbers and onion. I like onions, cucumber, and I love pav bhaji. So that is my favorite meal.
I also have something to say. So during the hostel time, I was also a part of food council, and their school took our preferences, and I was representing the food council and the students and their choices. And Apsara is always trying to give us healthy food, plus they are not compromising on taste many times, and yeah, the food is great.
All right, that was wonderful to hear. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I feel hungry.
Something to add on.
Okay, Ria.
So one example of the school giving healthy food in a tasty way was that we often have this beetroot ka paratha, and then it is also very tasty and extremely healthy way of feeding beetroots to food. It's healthy food. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for that. That was lovely. There was a question from Shrey that got missed out. I'll just repeat it. How does Apsara engage parents and the wider community to foster a strong school-home partnership?
be able to repeat your question? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I can. Just quickly, how does Apsara engage parents in the wider community?
Yeah, so we have periodic PPSM days, which is parent teacher meetups, student meetups, where the parents come to the school and spend the whole day, interacting with teachers and students in different spaces. Yeah, and that happens end of every trimester. So at least 3 times in an academic year, we definitely have parents on campus, for the whole day. So the great thing about this is that they spend the entire day from morning till evening, many times experiencing what their children go through in different spaces, what they do during the entire school day. So yeah, it's pretty. So yeah, that is the parent engagement. And then we have a social worker who goes and constantly works with parents on the back end. They visit homes of the parents, and they communicate with them, they collect data, and then so and then school intervenes in whatever way or wherever it feels it's necessary. So that is another way in which we engage parents, which is on the back end, and one is when they come for parent-teacher meeting at school.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Alina. Would any of the students like to add anything about how parents and other community members are engaged?
So basically, I think a lot of times the counselors and the advisor, we contact our parents. So maybe if I'm going through something, so I talk it out to my advisor or one of my counselors, and if they think my parents are supposed to know it and I am comfortable with them informing my parents, it's they share it, and there are always conferences where like the counselor call our parents and keep in touch about how I am doing on campus with them.
Okay, thank you. I'll just move on to the next question, which is about how Apsara, or does Apsara have any alumni engagement programs? What do the girls do after 12th grade?
So can I confirm the question? Is it how does Apsara support girls after they complete their 12th?
Yes. So I think there's two parts to it. One is, do you have an alumni engagement program? But I think the second part is just generally, what are the girls doing, the ones who graduated?
Alina, do you want me to answer this? It's three parts.
Yeah, so yes, we do have a very strong alumni support plan. There's an entire counseling team who's in touch. In fact, tomorrow we have an alumni meet, which is coming up, with which we'll be meeting the 3 graduate batches. And I feel like as far as I know, there is a dedicated counseling department who keeps in touch with the girls, where they are, help them, keep a tab on where they are, what they are doing, also guide them in how to cope up with college, how to explore more opportunities. So yes, we are pretty much in touch. And there is a very robust, I feel like a very robust support plan after 12th grade as well. Yeah, and what are the girls doing? We have girls who are, some of them are abroad pursuing subjects from economics to psychology to sciences. I think the first batch of alums are completing their graduation and moving forward with masters and PhDs. Like masters actually, not PhDs, but yeah. So many of them are looking to study further. They are in colleges like Kriya University, Ashoka. Many of them are in FAMES, Huron. Many of them are in the US. Many of them are in Canada. Very fortunately, over the batches, there have been building community in these colleges as well. So, for example, in Kriya, there are some girls who were part of 2021 batch, and now there are many joining from 2020 batch. and now many will be joining now. So they have these small, and they do support their sisters when they come there as well. So that becomes a very strong community trickle down, which happens because of, you know, the alumni kind of program. Yeah.
Thank you for answering that. There was one question about how festivals, what about festivals or holidays where they return back to their family? How are festivals celebrated in the institution? We can take that up. Who'd like to go?
Okay, so I would like to talk about something very interesting that happens in Apsara. We have Diversity Day, where, like, you know, all of us come in traditional outfits. People wear saris, people wear like cute gowns, frocks, and we celebrate all the culture together. We have dance forms. We represent like different states, different places. We have this year we had like we were representing West Bengal and Maharashtra, and then we through these presentations we present like what kind of clothing is done there, what kind of festivals do they celebrate, and then what kind of food they have and things like that, and then we all together have good meal also on that day. Yeah. And we also have like holidays, like recently we had Bakrid holiday. And even, yeah, something like very special about Apsara is like whenever we have any special coming up, we have that kind of food. Like if we have Eid, then we had shurkurma, then we have gulab jamun, we have good food.
Thank you so much. This has been really great, and unfortunately we're coming to a close, so we'll take the last question.
Yes, so I think I'll start off with how it happens, but I feel like the children should add on to the answer. So the question is how class happens at Apsara and how is learning process facilitated by teachers. So we have like a structured system when, in terms of the structure of the class, we have block A, block B, and then there's a pass time, and we're very punctual. So we start our class on time and we end on time. Those are like expectations. But within the class, I feel like it's more of a collaborative space where teachers and students come together. We try to keep it less authoritative and more of a collaborative learning space where students are given chance to talk to each other, to question. There is a lot of group work that happens. There's a lot of engagement in terms of readings, in terms of expressing their opinions, questioning what is written on the text, or like what we are studying, and engaging with it on a deeper level than just kind of remembering it or taking it as it is. So that is one method. I think the other student-led classes. So I think we have structures. We have daily reviews, which are student-led. There will be presentations, office hours, as the students are reminding me. Like, so the teachers also have office hours, extra classes, like time beyond the classroom, like after that, where kids can come and solve doubts or ask questions about it. We also experiments. Yeah, science does a lot of real-time experiments. So we have an extensive lab, and I think the children, whatever they learn, it's not only on book, they actually do it practically and see everything. What was I saying? Yeah, and student voice. I think we have a lot of conversation about student voice, about safety, about improving our instructional practice. So I don't know if you know, but Apsara has this very rigorous teacher standards that we need to follow, and we have professional learning days in which we kind of we are given reviews and feedbacks on these strands which we need to follow. Yeah, so I think the expectations are very high from teachers, and therefore they're pretty high with the students as well.
If I can quickly take how do we prepare the students for outside of Apsara? So once they have finished their final board exams of A level, the counselor team works with them, and they have a 1-month transition program, which is solely dedicated on the skills that they need to know. And that is including things such as how to prepare their college applications, documents that they would need, and as well as the different life skills that they would need, technical skills that they would need. So there's an extensive 1 month program. We have a lot of outside facilitators that would come and speak to them on their like subject matter expertise. So we would like tackle various topics ranging from tech to sciences to humanitarian kind of approaches, just giving them an idea of the different kind of what's out there, what they can do. But even prior to that, there's a lot of work dedicatedly that the counseling team does that is just focused on preparing them beyond Apsara. And then we stay in touch with them. It's not like once they've finished school that the tie is cut, like we said that we're having this alumni meet, but these students are engaged with us on a regular basis. We continue to support them. We continue to guide them, not just as far as academics are concerned or what support they would need, but also from the socio-emotional perspective as well. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for answering, Anandita, and for everyone for joining, the participants as well as the students and the faculty who joined from Apsara. This was truly an exceptional session, and thank you for sharing your experiences. For everyone, before you leave, if you could fill out the feedback form, that'd be great. We'll make sure to share the recording with you. And there are many more exciting events like this coming up, so do keep in touch. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for your time. Yep.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope to see you soon in the school.
Bye. Have a great day.